India operates one of the largest industrial engines on Earth, but keeping that machinery running requires a constant, massive influx of foreign coal, oil, and gas. The economic toll of importing that energy is staggering. We can electrify cars and heat homes with grid power, but those solutions don't scale here. Making steel, refining oil, and powering heavy manufacturing require intense, sustained heat that standard electricity simply cannot deliver. There is a practical alternative. Green hydrogen can generate the extreme temperatures required for heavy industry, matching the performance of fossil fuels while releasing only water vapor as a byproduct. Transitioning these massive sectors away from imported coal and gas is a matter of economic survival. Producing a domestic, zero emission fuel secures the nation's energy sovereignty. In 2023, the government launched the National Green Hydrogen Mission. It is a massive policy effort, backed by over 19,000 crore rupees, designed to scale up the process of running electrical currents through water to extract hydrogen. This chart illustrates the intended scale of the program. From essentially zero production today, the policy mandates reaching 5 million metric tons per year by 2030. The objective extends beyond domestic use. The policy is structured to establish the country as a primary global hub for manufacturing and exporting the molecule to international markets. Executing this transition allows India to pivot from a net energy importer to a major supplier of carbon neutral fuel. Yet, looking at the data in early 2026 reveals a significant gap between the policy drafted in New Delhi and the physical reality on the ground. Here are the production numbers. Of the 5 million ton target, only 8,000 tons are commissioned, just 0.16%. And despite a massive 20,000 crore allocation, developers have utilized only a fraction of these funds. Because of these missed milestones, officials recently indicated that the primary production targets will likely be delayed by at least 2 years, pushing the deadline to 2032. The initial momentum has stalled, as early policy enthusiasm crashes into the logistical friction of building physical infrastructure. The stall is primarily economic. The levelized cost of producing renewable hydrogen remains too high for the industrial market to absorb. A kilogram of clean green hydrogen costs 397 rupees, while polluting gray hydrogen is just 150. This creates a deadlock. Buyers refuse high-priced contracts, meaning developers cannot secure bank financing to build the plants. At the same time, delayed legislation in the European Union regarding renewable energy mandates has stalled what was expected to be a lucrative export market. While the basic science of electrolysis is proven, the hurdle isn't the chemistry, it is a market structure where production costs remain misaligned with government timelines. While domestic projects sit in the planning and financing stages, competitors globally are actively pouring concrete. China invested $3.7 billion into green hydrogen production last year. They already operate megaplants with output that dwarfs India's current capacity. Saudi Arabia has broken ground on the NEOM complex, a massive facility on track to produce 600 tons of green hydrogen every single day. This gap in execution threatens India's early strategic positioning in the race to control the supply chains of the next essential global commodity. Despite the early delays, the structural advantages that made India a primary contender are still intact. Renewable electricity makes up 50 to 70% of the total cost of producing green hydrogen. Because India already generates some of the cheapest solar and wind power on the planet, it has a natural cost advantage. The domestic market is also guaranteed. The country's enormous local refineries and fertilizer plants represent a massive captive audience ready to purchase the fuel the moment price parity is reached. Add in a 7,500-kilometer coastline with established maritime ports, and the physical infrastructure required to export these molecules is largely in place. The core components required to undercut global market prices exist. The challenge now is mobilizing private capital to connect them. Closing this execution gap would allow India to break its reliance on foreign fuel imports and establish a sovereign clean energy economy. But failing to scale production means trading a historical dependence on Middle Eastern crude oil for a new reliance on imported electrolyzers and foreign-produced hydrogen. The state capital has been allocated. The chemical extraction process is operational. The industrial buyers are waiting for the economics to clear. Can the domestic ecosystem cut through the red tape and bureaucratic friction quickly enough to build a 5 million ton industry from scratch? In a global market moving this fast, possessing the right geography and a comprehensive strategic plan only matters if you can actually build the infrastructure before anyone else does.